Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good weekend I guess is what we're in. It's proven to be a little bit of a problem that it's the weekend. My car once again is in the shop. A linkage came loose on my column shifter. There's a safety cable in that connects to the gearbox so that it won't allow you to shift if it's in gear, that kind of stuff. They have me a mint. So anyhow, they're trying to find the part, and there's nothing open on the weekend. Okay, so later today they're going to give me my car back, either totally fixed or jerry-rigged, and that way I can go move tents at my campsites tomorrow. And then I'll take it back and have him fix it later. Okay, so that's where I'm at with that. I've got too much headspace. Let me move this down a little bit. Okay, there we go. It's cold here. In fact, I just came out and I'm going to go ahead and close that up a little bit. Fix my collar for the same reason. Where's the button? There it is. Things you do to work in the winter time. In the summertime, you'd be doing just the opposite. You're inside with air conditioning and you're all bundled up, and you come out and you start taking the layers off. We're never happy. All right. So today what I want to talk about, Jesus always provided signs and clues to everything he did to his people. The rest of the world, they were on their own. Even before he had gone and sent the Spirit back, so we have the Spirit with us now, he made sure that when he was traveling with his disciples, that he explained everything. So he knew that they knew what was going on, and we're going to see that here in a little bit. The parables are for the world, so they can't figure it out, and it'll drive them crazy that they don't know what it's talking about. But those that truly have it revealed by the Spirit will know. Okay, so Jesus made sure that everyone close to him really knew what was going on. I gotta find my mouse. There it is. Because there was friends. You tell your friends what's going on, but you don't tell anybody else sometimes. All right. I see movement inside. People are milling about. It's still pre-lunch, but it's not too early. I had to wait till the sun got up and started to warm up a little bit. You can hear the wind blowing the wind chimes. It's part of a front going past the tail end. We already had the rain. I haven't been in my campsite in 2 days because my car's broke down. So I'm anxious to get back tonight and see what it looks like. All right. So we're going to turn to John 11:1. This is the part that talks about the death and resurrection of Lazarus. So I'll let the story tell itself, Jesus tell you about it. Now a certain man was sick, Lazarus of Bethany. Bethany is real close to Jerusalem, because that's where he met Mary. So the town of Mary and her two sisters, and her sister Martha, so the two of them lived there. It was Mary who anointed the Lord with fragrant oil and wiped his feet with her hair. He was going to be dead in a little bit, so that's kind of to help him not smell bad, I guess, huh? We'll see that that doesn't have to happen all the time. Lazarus. And it was her brother, Lazarus, who was sick. Therefore the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. So these were his friends. He had his disciples, but he had friends too. And when Jesus heard that, he said, this sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God. Jesus knew ahead of time what he was going to do. Now, this part he didn't tell his people. He wanted to see how much faith they had. Sometimes we're tested. But that's the only time he won't tell us. as if we're being tested, or if we're getting too smarty pants with him, he might not tell us the real answer and have us go off on the wrong tangent. Okay, but for the glory of God, that the Son of Man may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. Only God can do that, because he knows the future. Then after he said to the disciples, let's go to Judea again. So they're obviously south. Israel got split into 2 sections, remember? The disciples said to him, Rabbi, lately the Jews sought to stone you. Are you going there again? Yeah, but he knew what he was doing. Are there not 12 hours in the day? We'll find a way to weave through the problem. Again, he's God. That's why you want to rely on him, because we don't know. If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of the world. But if he walks in the night, he stumbles because the light is not in him. So he had his spotlight up for him. He knew where everything was. These things he said, that afterwards he said to them, our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go there to wake him up. So he wanted to make sure that they knew that day and night, because he's really technically not sleeping. And his disciples said, Lord, if he sleeps, he will get well. However, Jesus spoke of his death, but they thought he was speaking about taking a rest in sleep. Then Jesus said to them, Lazarus is dead. He wanted to make sure that they understood. Because he says things a lot of times that people just don't know where he's going with it. So he's plainly, clearly making it known to them, Lazarus is dead, so that they will know when he gets out of the cave that he was raised from the dead. And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, that you may believe. So he wasn't there to save him before he died, but he's going to raise him from the dead. That's a bigger accomplishment. Then Thomas, who's called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, let us go that we may die with him. Overly zealous, but a good thought. And he says, I am the resurrection and the life. Still giving them clues, but he's not telling them exactly what he's going to do, because they were going to go die with him. So when Jesus came, he found that he had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Yeah. Leave some meat outside in the hot sun for 4 days and see what it smells like. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles away. So there's your map. And many of the Jews, that's why they were walking and taking their time. Many of the Jews had joined the woman around Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. These are all Jews in this area. We're not dealing with Gentiles yet. Jews lived in the area before the Palestinians. Palestinians never had a homeland. Nobody wants them. All the countries around them don't want them. You notice that? It's a lie. It's a lie propagated by Satan, and they know it. All the countries around know what's going on. The terrorists that are paid by Iran to do all this work, they know what they're doing. And the people that they live with know what they're doing. And they fear them, so that's why they're not stopping them. Anyhow, back to our story. Now Martha, as soon as she heard Jesus was coming, went and met him, but Mary was still sitting in the house. Now Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask of God, God will give to you. Please, can you wake him up? Martha said to him, well, Jesus said, your brother will rise again. They're still not getting it. Martha says to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. So there is a resurrection in the last days. The dead in Christ will rise first. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may die, he shall live. You die the first death, but you don't die the second death. The rest of the world's going to die the second death, and there's no recovery from that. And she said to him, Lord, yes, I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who has come into the world. Okay, so Jesus is dealing with death. It's kind of one of the enemies out there of people. I mean, we get sick and things like that, but everybody dies the first death. And people fear it. So he's taken away the fear of that. And when she had said these things, she went her way and secretly called Mary, her sister, saying, the teacher has come. It's called Rabbi, the teacher. And he's calling for you. As soon as she heard that, she arose quickly and came to him. Now, Jesus had not yet come into town because he was still out there where Martha stopped him. But he was in the place where Martha met him. Then the Jews who were with her in the house and comforting her, when they saw that Mary rose quickly and went out following, saying, she's going to the tomb to weep there. They don't know either. And when Mary came to Jesus and she saw him, she fell down on her feet, saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. The two sisters think alike. Therefore, when Jesus saw her weeping and the Jews who came with her weeping, he groaned in the spirit. Pain in the spirit. You can grieve the spirit by sinning, but you can also have an emotional connection, which is what he's got. Groaned in the spirit and was troubled. And he said, where have you laid him? And they said, come and see. And Jesus wept. He wept a few times. He's an emotional person. He's crying for the people. They don't understand. And when the Jews saw this, that were visiting, see how he loved him. And some of them said, could not this man who opened the eyes of the blind and kept this I've got my thing in my mouth and I got caught. Who opened the eyes of the blind also kept this man from dying. Okay, so Jesus came again, groaning in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, actually, and a stone was laying against it. Now, they usually they hollow out the inside and leave a small opening, and then they can roll a rock over to it. It wouldn't be one of those like you traditionally see where it has the big round millstone type thing. There would have just been a rock that they put in front of it. The hole may have been like this to go inside. There was a cave and a stone laying against it. He says, take away the stone in 11:39. Martha, the sister of him who was dead, said to him, Lord, by this time there is a stench. She was assuming because the stone was there. That's what you put the stone up there for, to keep the animals out and to keep the stench in. For he's been dead 4 days. Jesus said to her, did I not say to you that if you would believe, you would see the glory of God? And Jesus says something like that. That's enough to get your attention. So then they took away the stone from the place where the dead man was lying. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. This is how he prays. Pay attention. And I know that you'll always hear me. But because of the people who are standing around here, I say this, that they may believe that you sent me. So he's praying out loud so they can specifically hear, but he talks to God all the time, which is what we're supposed to do. Now, when he had said these things, I've got a bit of a sore throat from this crazy weather. So the lozenge is helping. Pray for me if you will, but God will deal with it. He cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. I don't know why he couldn't come fifth or sixth, but sorry. I always have to put that in there. And he who had died came out bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped in cloth. Jesus said, "Go loose him and let him go." We are often bound up by things of the world that wrap us up. Jesus wants us to be free. Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Doubting Thomas. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. Some of these verses that we read sometimes overlap in the stories. That you may believe only and truly that Jesus did many, okay, let me start this over. That you may believe and truly Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples. He wanted to make sure that his friends and those that were going to carry the torch knew what was going on. The audience doesn't have to, they're just watching. And if they want to participate later on, they can, but basically, he wants his standard bearers, his relay race. You know, want to run for a while with the baton, and then the other teammate will start running just a little bit ahead of them, and when they catch up, they pass the baton. They don't want to slow down and stop. They're not going to have a chat. It's to get the team around the number of laps as fast as possible, and you put your best person at last. And we'll get to Paul and all this other stuff later on. And truly Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. So there's other books. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have a life in his name. All of us are supposed to have a life in his name. Now, we haven't seen him, but we can feel his presence. We have the Spirit in us. These people didn't have that. Peppermint on a sore throat. Feels good. It's just from going, I've spent 3 days inside of heating, dry heating, and that's all it is, really. I get back to my home and I'll be fine. Get my car here in a little bit. All right. So he took the time to make sure that his people knew what was going on. We have a lot of prophecy in the Bible. The book of Revelation is kind of a summary of all the prophecy. And it's got enough information that we know what's going on. The rest of the world is blind to it. They have no clue. Even if those that are really trying to overthrow the countries like they're doing, even if they really wanted to know what it was, they wouldn't understand it. They will be confused like the religious leaders of Jesus' time. All right. We know what's going to happen. We may not know the day, and I like to use sometimes not know the day or the hour, but that's the second coming. The rapture is separate. There are people that don't believe in the rapture, even though it's right there in the Bible. They've played with their particular cult religion or variation. They've played religious smorgasbord, and they've taken the verses out that back up their belief. Instead of reading the whole Bible, there's nothing contradictory in the Bible, really. If there seems to be a difference, it's our understanding. Leaves floating around. And it is cold. My hands are getting cold, and my arthritis in my fingers is a little bit more than normal. Continue to pray for my son. He's coming out of his problem area, so we're trying to get him motivated to get back to work and doing things. And he's coming around. I wish I had him with me where I could be with him more. I got more work done with him when we were camping together, because he had no place to go. He's a captive audience. Here, he can still choose to ignore me if he wants, but we're getting better at that. We're going to do a little bit of filming at the end of the month on one of the independent film projects that we've been working on. This guy's working on like 3 different independent films all at once, and we go there and we film bits and pieces of it. And then he puts them together and sees what he needs, and we go back and do it again. Only problem is I keep changing my look. Every time I go there, my look's different. So I got to decide if I'm going to keep the mustache or not. I might have to shave it. And I had to post this picture up on my acting site on my website so that they know what I currently look like, because I'm getting a bunch of invites and I'm looking at it going, no, you don't want me looking like this. When I quit working, I quit dyeing my hair. All last year, I never had to dye my hair, so this is my natural hair color, white or gray. There's a little touch of red in some of it, but it's not very much. I think I posted some of my early pictures where I had red hair. Brownish red, but still red. Anyhow, Jesus will tell you what's going on step by step if you ask. Now, you don't walk up to him and go, okay, God, I need to know this so